I have always believed that my home would be a refuge of peace, a place where I could rebuild my life after the challenges I faced. It was a simple, yet cozy house. Located in a small town surrounded by mountains, however, everything changed when I decided to open my doors to Leela, my childhood best friend. She had always been my pillar of support during the toughest times in my life, and now she was the one in need of help. Leela was going through a rough patch. After years of trying to maintain a tumultuous marriage, she found herself alone, with little savings and nowhere to stay. As if that weren't enough, she had just lost her job, making her situation even more desperate. When I learned about the severity of what she was facing, I didn't hesitate to invite her to live with me. "You've always been there for me when I needed you, Leela. Now it's my turn to give back," I told her over the phone, sensing the urgency in her voice. At first, it felt like the most natural decision in the world. We had so many memories of a friendship that had withstood the test of time and distance. As kids, we were inseparable, sharing secrets, dreams, and even the scoldings we received together. I was sure that helping Leela would be as simple as opening the door to my home. But I soon discovered that offering help to someone we love isn't always as easy as it seems. What began as a gesture of solidarity quickly turned into a test for our friendship and for the peace I cherished so much. In the early days, living together was smooth. Leela was kind and considerate, always ready to help with small chores around the house. "You really don't have to do that," I would say as she organized my space, as if she knew exactly where everything belonged. "I like being here," she replied with a smile, and the atmosphere that formed between us was almost magical. Her presence brought a lightness I didn't know I needed. But over time, I sensed a subtle discomfort growing within me. It was a strange feeling, as if something was off. Noah, my husband, seemed to get closer to Leela. He complimented her more often, his eyes sparkling when he spoke of her. "She's an inspiration," he said one night at dinner. Those words cut through me like a sharp blade. What was so special about her? Why did I feel a knot forming in my stomach? I think the first sign that something was wrong was when I noticed a tinge of jealousy in my own reactions. "You're so interested in her well-being," I commented once, trying to hide the unease in my voice. Noah smiled, but there was something in his gaze that made me question his intentions. "I just want to help, love. Leela needs support," but the sincerity in his voice couldn't dispel the unease that was growing inside me. As the days passed, I started to notice Leela becoming increasingly concerned about her mental health. She talked about it as if she were on a journey of self-discovery. "Noah is so understanding," she would say, and I could see the gratitude in her eyes. And there I was, feeling a shadow of distrust. I wanted to believe that Noah was just being a friend, but the way Leela spoke about him left me uneasy. Why did he seem so involved? "Do you really think everything is okay?" I asked myself one night as I watched the two of them get lost in conversation on the couch. What should have been an act of kindness began to feel more like a dangerous game, and I didn't know if I was being paranoid or if something deeper was forming between them. My heart raced with every shared laugh, every lingering glance that lasted just a bit too long. Doubt consumed me. Was I just imagining things, or was something more developing under our roof? The questions kept hammering away in my mind, and the feeling that I needed to uncover the truth grew stronger each day. That night, laughter coming from the bedroom woke me up. The soft light seeping through the crack of the door caught my attention. I turned in bed, listening as the laughter mixed with the voices of Noah and Leela. A cold wave of anxiety washed over me. What was happening in there? A surge of curiosity and insecurity overwhelmed me. I couldn't ignore what I was hearing. I decided to get up and approach the door. With each step, my heart raced faster. I knew that spying wasn't right, but the need to understand what was going on was greater. I placed my hand on the doorknob, and with my heart in my throat, I looked through the keyhole. What I saw was devastating yet incredibly confusing. Noah and Leela were sitting very close to each other, sharing secrets and smiles. He held her hand, and the way they looked at each other felt like a punch to my stomach. In that moment, an internal battle began within me. I wanted to scream, confront them. But the fear of losing my marriage paralyzed me. How could I do this? My love for Noah was still strong, but the betrayal that seemed to unfold before my eyes was painful. What should be a safe home was turning into a battlefield between reason and emotion. I decided I needed to investigate further. I went to the living room, trying to act normally while my mind worked frantically. With every daily interaction between Noah and Leela, I became more alert. From small gestures to the messages popping up on his phone, I wanted to understand. Those simple moments began to take on new meaning. Each laugh, each shared glance became a clue in a dark puzzle that I didn't want to piece together, but which seemed inevitable. One afternoon, while Noah was in the shower, I grabbed his phone from the table. My heart raced. What am I doing? I thought. But the need to know the truth was stronger. I opened the messages, and each word I read felt like a blow. He spoke to Leela in a way that made me feel like a stranger in my own marriage. The messages were filled with affection and concern, as if they had a world of their own, and I was completely left out. I felt betrayed. Anger began to swell inside me, but there was also a deep sadness. How could he do this to me? The trust I had in Noah was crumbling, and I didn't know how to handle it. I wanted all of this to be just a misunderstanding, but the reality was becoming clearer. These discoveries left me more determined to find out the truth. I needed to confront Noah and Leela. But I still didn't know how. With each passing day, the anguish grew. I just wanted to know where I stood in this triangle, but the answer seemed more distant with every laugh I heard. What would I do next? Doubt consumed me. And the questions continued to echo in my mind. How could I reclaim what was slipping away? The revelations I uncovered by reading the messages between Noah and Leela felt like a punch to the gut. Each word I read seemed to cut deeper. He spoke to her in a way he never spoke to me. The messages overflowed with affection and camaraderie, as if they shared a secret I had never known. My heart tightened as I realized their relationship went far beyond a simple friendship. It felt like I was watching a horror movie, unable to change the plot. As I read the messages, a mix of anger and sadness engulfed me. I couldn't believe this was happening. Noah had always been the love of my life, and now I felt like a stranger in his story. How could he betray me like this? The thought that Leela could be more than a friend filled me with rage. What else were they hiding? With each message I read, the anger within me grew. I felt I needed to do something. But what? The desire for revenge began to take shape. I didn't want to just confront them. I wanted them to feel what I was feeling. It was unfair that I had to go through this alone. My heart was broken, and that pain needed relief. So I decided I needed to be strategic. Instead of acting impulsively, I planned a special night for Noah. I thought of everything: a romantic dinner, dim lights, soft music. I wanted him to feel loved while I prepared to catch him in his own trap. The idea that he could be taken by surprise gave me a sense of control that I hadn't felt in a long time. As I organized the evening, a part of me felt guilty for doing this. I knew Noah was still the man I loved, but the betrayal I had witnessed blinded me with pain. I could only think about how he had deceived me. The internal struggle between love and betrayal was exhausting. That night, as I prepared everything, I felt a knot in my stomach. The nervousness was intense, but I was determined. It was time to uncover the truth and confront them. The anger that had built up inside me gave me courage. I wasn't going to stand by while Noah and Leela toyed with my feelings. I needed to know exactly what was happening and put an end to this situation. The thought that I might finally get the answers I had been searching for excited me, even amidst the fear and doubt. As dinner time approached, I got ready for what could be the biggest confrontation of my life, in a beautiful dress, every detail aligned with a plan I had crafted. The anticipation of discovering the truth and, if necessary, making Noah understand the gravity of what he had done was what drove me. I didn't know how everything would end, but I knew I had to act. The night promised to be revealing, and somehow I hoped it would be the first step toward regaining control of my life. The evening finally arrived. As I got ready, I felt a mix of anxiety and determination. I chose a stunning dress that accentuated my body and made me feel confident. Every time I looked in the mirror, I reminded myself that I was doing this for me, because of the pain Noah had caused. Soft music played in the background, creating a romantic atmosphere that I hoped he would appreciate. But deep down, I knew this was all part of a plan to reveal the truth. The aroma of the dinner I prepared filled the house. I was anxious, but also excited. The idea that Noah might be surprised thrilled me. But first, I had to ensure he was truly alone. With that in mind, I quickly checked my surroundings. I glanced at Noah's phone, which lay on the table, but there was nothing suspicious. He seemed so carefree, as if nothing was happening. That irritated me. As I waited for Noah to arrive, a small voice in my head whispered that something wasn't right. It was at that moment that the doorbell rang. My heart raced. I knew Leela could show up, but I didn't expect her so soon. What was she doing here? The thought that she might be coming to see Noah put me on high alert. Without thinking twice, I hid behind the door. Adrenaline coursed through my veins. I wanted to know what was happening. As soon as Noah opened the door, I could hear their conversation. Leela walked in, laughing, as if she owned the place. The scene unfolding before me felt like a nightmare. They weren't just meeting. There was an intimacy between them that cut my heart. "Hi, Noah, I thought you'd be alone," Leela said with a smile, and that phrase echoed in my mind like a scream. The anger I felt transformed into a mix of sadness and indignation. I could no longer stay hidden, like a stranger in my own home. It was time to act. I flung the door open with a sudden movement, and all eyes turned to me. The silence that followed was deafening. Noah froze, and Leela seemed to be in shock. I could see their expressions shift from relief to guilt in mere seconds. My heart pounded, but I couldn't hesitate. "So this is how you betray me, Noah," I said, my voice trembling with rage. "And you, Leela, don't you ever get tired of meddling in other people's lives?" The scene was surreal, as if I were watching a movie, but the pain was all too real. Noah tried to justify himself, his words sounding empty to me. "Calm down, it's all a misunderstanding," he said, but I wasn't willing to listen. There was no room for excuses anymore. Leela, in a moment of weakness, apologized, but the sincerity in her gaze was questionable. The truth was clearly before me, and I couldn't ignore it. As I watched the scene, indignation grew within me. I felt strong despite the pain. I had set this trap to expose the betrayal, and now, by confronting them, I finally felt like I was reclaiming some of the control I had lost. But at the same time, a part of me was shattering. This was the life I had built with Noah, and now it was all crumbling. After all the chaos, I found myself alone in the house, my heart heavy, yet there was an unexpected sense of relief. The truth had come to light, and I no longer had to live in uncertainty. Looking back, I realized that Noah's betrayal wasn't just a blow, it was a door closing. But it also opened space for something new. I felt, then, that I didn't want Noah in my life anymore. The pain he caused was intense, but somehow I was beginning to feel strong. I looked around and realized that the house, once filled with happy memories, now felt empty. But this solitude didn't scare me. I was ready to leave it all behind. Meanwhile, Leela was on her own journey. I learned that she decided to distance herself from relationships that harmed her. I understood that she was also seeking recovery and self-discovery. I admired the courage she was showing in trying to change her life. Deep down, I hoped she would find the peace she needed. Reflecting on everything I had experienced, I realized that Noah's betrayal wouldn't make me a victim. Instead, I could transform this pain into personal power. The anger and sadness I felt were morphing into something different. I was beginning to discover a strength within me that I didn't know existed. That woman who had been so insecure and dependent was becoming more confident with each passing day. I decided it was time to truly free myself from Noah. The feeling of renewal this brought was almost magical. The idea of a fresh start excited me. Life was full of possibilities, and I wanted to explore each one of them. The pain I carried began to dissipate, giving way to hope and the expectation of a better future. With this new feeling, I started to look at myself with more kindness. I remembered old passions I had set aside while I was with Noah. There was an artist inside me that was eager to come out. It was time to rediscover who I really was, away from the shadows of betrayal. My days became lighter, and a new energy began to flow within me. I knew that the path to healing wouldn't be easy, but I was willing to face it. Letting go of Noah was just the first step. I wanted to rebuild my life, surrounding myself with people who valued and respected me. The positive impact of this decision began to manifest in small things, like a smile in the mirror or the joy of reconnecting with old friends. Finally, I felt that life was offering me a new chance. The pain of betrayal no longer dictated my destiny. I was ready to start over, to embrace new experiences and perhaps even new relationships in the future, but now with a more attentive and careful approach. The journey was just beginning, and I was determined to savor every moment of it. After leaving Noah behind, I knew that my life needed reconstruction. It was time for me to prioritize myself and learn to value my own happiness. At first, it was challenging. The freedom I sought also brought a void, but I was determined to fill that space with things that made me feel good. I decided it was time to rediscover passions I had forgotten. One of the first things I did was return to painting. I remembered how much I loved mixing colors and letting my imagination flow. I took out the brushes and paints that had been gathering dust and sat down at the table. The feeling of creating something new was liberating. Each brushstroke seemed to wash away a bit of the pain I carried. In addition to painting, I sought out other hobbies I had set aside. I started reading more, diving into stories that transported me to other worlds. Literature had always helped me escape reality, and I needed that now more than ever. I found books that spoke of overcoming challenges, self-love, and new possibilities. Each turned page was another step in my journey of self-discovery. My circle of friends also proved to be fundamental in this process. They were by my side, ready to support me. I made a point of scheduling get-togethers, whether for coffee or a walk in the park. These small gatherings brought laughter and good memories that I thought I had lost. Their affection helped me rebuild my self-esteem and understand that I wasn't alone. With the support of my friends and the rediscovery of my passions, my perspective on relationships began to shift. I realized that I didn't want to enter into another relationship without first understanding better what I wanted. Now, I knew I needed healthy and respectful connections where I could be myself without fear of judgment or pain. Weeks went by, and I continued to focus on myself. Every day was a new opportunity to learn something new. I began practicing meditation, seeking a space of calm amid the whirlwind of emotions I still felt. This practice helped clear my mind and find inner peace, something I didn't know I needed. So much, looking in the mirror and smiling at myself became a daily ritual. I was becoming the woman I always wanted to be, full of dreams and hope. The pain of betrayal that once paralyzed me was now just a part of my story, and I was ready to move forward. Life was transforming, and I couldn't be more excited about what lay ahead. Each small victory, each smile, each new discovery showed me that I was capable of being happy on my own, and so, with an open heart and a light mind, I walked toward a future full of possibilities. The night of the celebration arrived, and I was full of anticipation. I invited my closest friends to toast this new beginning. I prepared everything with care. I decorated the room with soft lights and set up a table filled with snacks and drinks. Yes, I wanted everyone to feel the joy I was experiencing. When my friends arrived, the atmosphere filled with laughter and animated conversations. I felt my heart warm with every hug and smile. It was good to be surrounded by people who genuinely cared about me. As we toasted, I realized how much I had changed. The pain that once consumed me was now just a part of my story, and I was ready to move forward. In the midst of the celebration, Leela showed up. She smiled, a bit nervously but determined. She had decided to seek professional help, and that left me relieved. The friendship that once seemed impossible was now forming in a new context. We talked a bit, and I encouraged her to continue on this journey of self-discovery. It was good to see that she was making an effort to recover. While everyone celebrated, I stepped away for a moment to reflect. I looked out the window and saw the stars shining in the sky. At that moment, I realized that the pain I carried was not in vain. Every tear, every difficult moment had brought me to this place. I had learned to value myself and to seek happiness from within. More importantly, I understood that personal growth can emerge from the most painful situations. When I returned to the party, Leela was chatting with some friends. I watched her and noticed that despite what had happened, there was room for forgiveness and new opportunities. Life is full of twists and turns, and perhaps the friendship we were building could bring something good for both of us. At the end of the night, we made one last toast. I raised my glass and looked at the smiling faces around me. To new beginnings and new stories, I said, and everyone agreed, laughing and applauding. I was not only celebrating a new phase in my life, but also the power of friendship and mutual support. When everyone left, I sat on the couch, exhausted but happy. I looked at the messages I exchanged with my friends and smiled. Hope was being reborn within me, like a flower blooming after a storm. I knew that the future was still uncertain, but I was ready to embrace new opportunities and build healthy relationships. The most important love is the one we cultivate for ourselves. Once I used to seek validation in Noah's gaze, but now I understood that my happiness could not depend on another person. This lesson led me to reflect on the relationships I wanted for the future, based on mutual respect, honesty, and genuine admiration. As I reorganized my life, I decided to seek a therapist. Talking about my feelings and challenges with a professional was transformative. For the first time in a long time, I allowed myself to vent without fear of judgment. The process was sometimes painful, but it also helped me understand that Noah's betrayal was not a reflection of my worth, but of his choices. One of the deepest discoveries I made was realizing how, over the years, I had abandoned little parts of myself to please others. This awareness brought a new commitment to never lose my essence again. I began investing in art classes, something I had always dreamed of but never had the courage to pursue. I met new people who shared the same passion for creativity and inspired me with their stories of resilience. In one of those classes, I met Lucas, a man with a serene gaze and a warm smile. He was different from anyone I had experienced before, calm, kind, and genuinely interested in getting to know me. There was no rush, no empty promises. Just a sincere connection that grew gradually. Lucas taught me the importance of living in the present, of appreciating the small joys of everyday life. However, before diving into any new relationship, I had a conversation with myself. I knew I needed to be whole and happy with myself before sharing my life with someone else. Lucas understood this, and the time we spent together was more of a celebration of the moment than a search for something greater. As the months went by, I realized my life was transforming. The weight of Noah's betrayal and Lila's presence had dissipated, and I felt lighter, more confident. The pain that once seemed unbearable had become a valuable lesson, teaching me the importance of prioritizing myself. Finally, looking back at everything I had lived, I understood that the adversities we face can be the catalyst for our growth. I was no longer the insecure woman who had once lost herself in another's love. Now I was strong, resilient, and determined to live fully. My story was not just about betrayal and pain, but about rediscovery and overcoming. And as I moved forward, painting my own path with the vibrant colors of freedom and self-love, I knew I was ready for whatever life had in store for me. Share this story if you believe that new beginnings are possible after difficult moments. Leave a comment about how friendship or self-discovery has transformed your life, and subscribe to the channel for more inspiration on overcoming challenges and personal growth.